There is a dryer in my sister's basement that my mother bought in 1979. It has one dial on the front. You turn it to the number of minutes you want, and you pull it out, and it runs. That is the entire machine. It has been repaired twice in 46 years, both times by me, both times with the part I carried in the truck. You cannot buy that dryer today. You can buy a dryer, and it will have 11 cycles and a moisture sensor and a phone application. And in 9 years, it will be at the curb. My name is Richard Nakamura, and I fixed appliances in other people's homes for 30 years. Today, I want to count down 10 things that used to be ordinary in an American kitchen and are getting hard to find now. For each one, I will tell you what happened, and then I will tell you where you can still get the real article, because a video that only tells you what you lost is not worth your time. 2 things before we start. Number 3, I had wrong, and I'm going to tell you exactly where I had it wrong, because I would rather correct myself than let it stand. And number 1, you cannot buy at any price. I have looked. Number 10. A refrigerator with no ice maker in it. Walk a showroom and try to find one. They exist, but you have to hunt, because everything at eye level has ice and water in the door, or at minimum, an ice maker up in the freezer. Here is what nobody mentions while they are selling it to you. That ice maker takes up 1 to 2 cubic feet of your freezer. On a 20 cubic foot refrigerator, that is about 10% of your frozen storage gone permanently to a device that is the single most common thing to fail in the whole machine. My mother's refrigerator had a plastic tray you filled at the sink and twisted. It took her 4 seconds, and it never once needed a technician. I have stood in kitchens where the ice maker had leaked for months into the freezer floor, frozen into a slab under the drawer, and the family had no idea until the drawer would not close. That is a machine you paid extra for, failing quietly, taking your freezer space with it. You can still buy one. Look at the plain top freezer models at the bottom of the range, the ones the salesman walks you past. A basic Frigidaire around 14 cubic feet is exactly this machine. You will be steered away from it. Steer back. Number 9, a window air conditioner with 2 knobs on the front. One knob for how cold, one for how fast the fan blows. That was the whole interface. A thermostat, a switch, a compressor. Now the same machine has a touch panel, a remote you will lose, a display, and a board behind it all, doing precisely the same job it did with 2 knobs. They are still out there, at the smallest and cheapest end of the line, and check the picture carefully before you order. If you can see a rotary dial, you are looking at the one you want. Number 8. A dryer with a mechanical timer. A dryer is the simplest big appliance ever put in a house. It is a drum, a motor, a heating element, and a thermostat. That is genuinely all it is. The mechanical timer was a little clockwork that closed and opened contacts as it turned, and when one failed, you could hear it before it quit. Everything that has been added since is a sensor telling the machine what a person used to tell it. I am not going to pretend the moisture sensor is useless, because it is not. It stops you cooking your towels. But it is one more thing between you and dry clothes, and when the board behind it goes, the drum and motor and element are all perfect, and the machine is done. A dial you can replace for $40. A board that talks to a sensor you often cannot get at all after 8 years. You can still find one. Commercial and laundromat-grade dryers and the very bottom of the domestic line come with a dial. Ask for it by name because it will not be on display. Number 7. An oven without a self-clean button. I have told you before what that cycle does. It runs the oven up around 900 degrees for hours, and the most common casualty is the thermal fuse, which does not reset. And the second most common is the control board sitting right behind the panel, taking all that heat. What has changed is that it is now genuinely hard to buy a range that simply does not have the feature, because it has become a checkbox on a spec sheet, and no buyer for a big chain wants to stock the model that is missing a checkbox. The plain gas ranges are your answer, and most of them still clean the old way with a damp rag and a little baking soda while the oven is warm. Number 6. A gas range with knobs and no glass panel. I made a whole video about this, so I will keep it short. Behind a black glass touch panel is a control board, and that board decides how long you own the stove. When it dies, the machine stops entirely. The part is $100 to $700 plus $200 to $600 in labor. And on an older model, it is often discontinued, at which point a stove with perfect burners is finished. A range with mechanical knobs and an analog thermostat has no such failure. The one I would buy is still sold, the GE JGBS30DKW. Mechanical knobs across the front, a sealed 13,000 BTU burner, a proper simmer burner, and a 4.8 cubic foot oven running on an analog thermostat. It is one of the cheapest things in the aisle, and it is built the way my mother's was. Number 5. A washing machine with an agitator and a real metal transmission. The old top loader had a transmission, a gearbox, that drove that post in the middle back and forth against the tub. It was heavy, and it was mechanical, and it beat the dirt out of clothes. Most machines now move the whole tub gently instead, which is easier on fabric and easier on the engineering. Speed Queen still builds the classic, and there is a story in that worth your time. They brought out a newer, gentler top loader, and owners complained so loudly and for so long that the company put the old classic back into production, which almost never happens in this industry. Now, I owe you the honest half of that. Consumer Reports rates the newer one higher for cleaning than the classic, 4 stars against 3. So who is right? Both of them, about different things. A laboratory scores stain strips under fixed conditions. An owner scores whether the collar of a work shirt came out clean. If you wash ordinary household laundry, the newer machine will please you. If you wash genuinely dirty clothes, listen to the owners. Number 4. The wiring diagram folded up inside the machine. This is the one that means the most to me, so let me explain it properly. For decades, when a machine left the factory, there was a folded paper schematic tucked inside it, behind the lower panel of a washer, taped inside the back of a dryer, under the toe plate of a dishwasher. The whole electrical map of that appliance, every wire and every color code, put there by the people who built it. Think about what that paper meant. The manufacturer expected somebody to open this machine, not a factory. Somebody in a house one day with a screwdriver. They put the map in the box because they assumed the machine would be worth fixing. Nobody prints a map to a place they expect you never to go. My mother knew that diagram was in there, and she never once looked at it. She kept it because it belonged to the machine. When the man came out, she would tell him where it was before he asked, and he would unfold it on the kitchen table and stand there reading it while she made him coffee. I was maybe 9, and I remember thinking that piece of paper made him able to do something nobody else in the house could do. I've thought about that a lot since, because 30 years later, I was the man with the paper on somebody else's kitchen table. and by then I was one of the last ones who bothered to unfold it. Now here is the part that surprised me. Check your own machines tonight, because more of them have it than you think. Behind the kick panel, taped inside the back, and if it is there, do not throw it away, and do not let anybody else throw it away either. Number 3. This is the one I had wrong. I had written down that parts are harder to get than they used to be. That is what everybody says, and it is what I believed. And when I went to check it properly, I found that I had it backwards. In 1985, to get a part, you drove to a supply counter, and a man looked in a paper catalog, and if your machine was 10 years old, he might or might not find the number, and if he did not, that was the end of it. Today, I can sit in a chair and pull up an exploded parts diagram for a 20-year-old machine in half a minute, see every component with its number, and have it on the porch in 3 days. That is not worse than it was. That is dramatically better, and it is the single biggest thing that has gone right in my trade in my lifetime. So no, parts are not harder to find. What is harder is knowing which part you need, and that is a different problem, and it is the one this whole video is really about. Number 2, metal where there is now plastic, steel tubs instead of plastic ones. Bearings you can press out instead of a sealed drum you replace whole. Gears instead of a molded part that cannot be repaired. This is not sentiment. A plastic tub warps a little over the years and holds smell. A sealed drum means a $20 bearing turns into a repair worth more than the machine. The way to find it is printed on the spec sheet, and nobody reads it. Stainless tub, not plastic. Check that one line before you look at the price, and you will have sorted the good ones from the lesser ones wearing the same family name. Now, number 1. The one you cannot buy at any price. The repairman in your town who knew, not a call center, a man with a van and a name who had been doing it 30 or 40 years, who knew which brand of pump failed at year 6 because he had replaced 90 of them, who would tell you on the phone not to bother because it was not worth fixing. Nobody paid him to know that. He knew it because he had been standing in kitchens since before you were born, and because when something was junk, the people who bought it called him back and told him so. He was running a survey. Nobody called a survey. You cannot get that from a review. A review tells you whether a thing arrived working. It does not tell you whether it was still working in year 12, because the person who found that out stopped thinking about it and never wrote it down. Here are the numbers, and they are worse than I expected. The Bureau of Labor Statistics projects that employment for home appliance repairers will decline by about 3.5% through 2030. Around 45% of repair businesses cannot find technicians right now, and about 60% of the people who do apply have no formal training at all. Across the skilled trades generally, for every 5 people retiring, roughly 2 are coming in. A third of repair delays are now parts sitting on back order for 8 weeks or more. So read those 2 things next to each other. The machines get more complicated every single year, and the number of people who can open one is going down. That is the whole story of this video. Every other item on my list is downstream of that one. I am one of those men. I am not being modest about it. I am telling you what I am. And this channel exists because I could see that when I put my tools down, what I knew was going to go with me unless I wrote it down somewhere. Now, the honest word, and I want to say it clearly so nobody mistakes this for an old man complaining. The past was not better. My mother's refrigerator used 3 times the electricity yours does. Her washer used far more water than anything you can buy today, and it had no safety on it worth the name. Machines now are quieter, cleaner, safer, and cheaper to run, and I would not go back. What we lost was not quality in general. It was repairability specifically, and we lost it because a machine that cannot be fixed gets replaced, and replacing is where the money is. That is not nostalgia. That is arithmetic, and you can watch it happen on a spec sheet. So here is what I would ask you to do. Go look behind the kick panel of your washer tonight for that folded diagram. Then find out whether there is still a repair shop in your town with somebody's name on the sign. And if there is, use it while it is there. And tell me down in the comments, and I mean this one specifically, what is the oldest appliance still running in your house? How old is it? And whose was it before it was yours? I want to know what is still out there working. I read every single one. My grandmother used to tell me about motainai. It means nothing good should ever be wasted. Not the thing in your hands, and not the knowing of how to keep it.